Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Precious Amayu. Let's start off with the latest on the U.S.-Israel-Iran war, where President Donald Trump says Iran's Navy, Air Force, radar, and air defense systems have been knocked out after joint U.S.-Israeli strikes. Speaking at the White House alongside German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, President Trump described the military operation as progressing very well, insisting the action was preemptive to stop an imminent Iranian attack.
Been knocked out. They have no air force that's been knocked out. They have no air detection that's been knocked out. Their radar has been knocked out. And just about everything's been knocked out. They're going to be in for a lot of hurt. These are bad people. These are people they killed. I guess it's 35,000. It's coming out 35,000 over the last 3 weeks. Protesters, 35,000 violently killed. So these are bad people. And the leader of the pack is gone. And as you know, 49 people were taken out in the first hit. And I guess there was another hit today on the new leadership. And it looks like that was pretty substantial also.
He also claimed some figures within Iran's leadership are seeking immunity and may be ready to lay down arms, though Tehran has given no public sign of surrender and continues retaliatory strikes across the region. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Washington had prior knowledge of Israel's planned action and moved to prevent anticipated attacks on American forces. Meanwhile, Germany has called for a swift end to the conflict as violence disrupts global oil markets. According to the Iranian Red Crescent Society, more than 780 people have been killed in Iran since the strikes began. 6 U.S. service members have also died in the fighting. Israel has expanded operations, including ground deployments in southern Lebanon, following retaliatory strikes by Iran and its ally Hezbollah. And joining me from Tanzania for more is writer African Liberty, and from Germany, independent human rights consultant Dr. Oyemachi Ogunwenzi. Good to have you both join us.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be with you.
All right, so we're joined by both Francis and I think Franklin, that Oyemachi. But let me begin with Francis. I just want to ask you, because now we're hearing from President Trump that this is for some reason, some sort of defensive action, that they were trying to forestall some strike by Iran. What do you make of that rhetoric or narrative he's now pushing?
Saying this is a defensive move, it's kind of something like not easy to tell if it is a defensive move, because it is something that we just see it's just erupted after election. So who are defended? That's a very big question when it is, say, a defensive move, because I think if it is a defensive move from the election that they held some months ago, I think it should be from the people themselves before the international get into the question, and as we are the one who are getting the impacts of all these conflicts.
And I'm staying with you. Just generally now, what do you make of the escalating nature of this war? It's now day 5. I don't know if...
Sorry,
okay.
It was staggering. I couldn't.
Okay, so I was asking what you make of the escalating nature of the war. It's now day 5.
Yeah. You see, being at the day 5, you see, we still see like no parties there to sit and discuss anything. And what I say as somebody from this developing country, it is very good to have peace in those areas, because it is us who are affected much by whatever that is happening in Middle East or wherever in the world. It's like today in Tanzania, the oil prices are going high. They are now high. So I think I should just call for a discussion, if they can sit and discuss whatever that is happening, to be at peace. That would be very great for us. We have been hit by a lot of economic shocks, and we cannot tolerate some more shocks from now onwards. And the Middle East, if Middle East conflicts are really affecting the developing countries.
Let me bring
So the
in.
day 5, we have already started to meet the effects.
All right, so let me bring in Dr. Franklin into the conversation. I just also want to ask you what you make of the day 5 escalating, be around the region. Members of the Gulf states also now say, look, they are going to retaliate if Iran continues to strike infrastructure within their country.
Well, that's what war is. That's what the Washington planners never gamed in their war games. Iran has a simple strategy. They know they cannot confront the military might of Israel and America combined, or if NATO comes into the fray. So what are they doing? They are picking up American military assets across the region and terminating them. So that's their only chance of staying in this fight. Iran is hopelessly outclassed, but they are putting up a fight because this is an existential crisis for Iran. That is what Westerners forget. Iran is fighting for its life, and it will do anything and everything to ensure its survival. So those in Washington can bomb today and go home tomorrow, but Iranians are going to be there. So the only thing Iran needs to do in this fight is just to survive, and they have won. So it's going to go further because the Iranians are not giving up. Because to give up or to surrender is to be decimated. So I don't understand what people expect the Iranians to do. That they were attacked on a Saturday morning and their leadership was decimated. So the Iranians are putting up a fight as much as they could. And they are giving the West a good run for the United States and Israel, a good run for their money, as we can see.
What do you, because again, I asked Francis earlier, but let me also ask you, because the rhetoric or the narrative President Trump is painting is that, look, we're trying to stop a preemptive attack from Iran, and that Iran was going to. Go ahead, please.
Well, how often have we heard those kind of silly excuses? This is a war of aggression. There's nothing preemptive about it. But preemptive attack was coined after 9/11. That was coined by George Bush Jr. to march into Iraq. Preemptive. What does that mean? What Trump and the Israelis have done is a violation of Article 2 of the United Nations Charter, that you don't go to war against a country that did nothing to you. So preemptive, preemptive is just a very silly excuse because the Iranian war, the war against Iran, has been in the works for close to 3 decades now, 30 years. The Saban Institute, an American think tank, wrote a paper in 2009 titled The Road to Persia, where they articulated ways to go to war and bomb Iran. Netanyahu has always been saying that Iran is 2 days to a bomb for 30 years, since he got into politics in 1996. So it didn't start today. So all this preemptive nonsense they are telling us about is just a smoke screen. They knew what they wanted. Iran has been a thorn in their eyes because Iran has been supporting what is called the axis of resistance, Hezbollah, Hamas, to resist the genocide, for example, that Israel committed in Gaza, or to resist American influence in the Middle East. So their eyes are not only set on Iran. After Iran, the next target for them is Turkey. The Israelis are saying it openly. So it has been in the works. The Israelis wanted to be the only hegemon in the Middle East. And that's what they are going to achieve at the moment. Iran is the only stumbling block towards achieving that goal.
And I'll come back to that next target in just a moment, but let me bring in Francis back to the conversation. Francis, what does this mean for Europe, considering the comments made by President Trump about the willingness or the lack of it by Spain and Britain to aid or rally behind the US in this war?
I think many people, maybe they have any interest on the things they want to ally, to do whatever that they want to do. I think if it is anything, I think we should do something which is good for the betterment of the world, not just for the nations, just a few nations. So this is why I say, instead of saying like we can ally with such a specific country in doing this and this and that, I think it's a very good thing to say like, hey, can't we just sit and discuss all these issues? Because we have a lot of problems to deal with in the world, and just getting into a country, saying like you back it up or whatever that you want to do. As for me, that's not the right move. I think we are now in the we are in need of peace everywhere in the world, not just allowing somebody to cause some problems to anyone.
Beyond just Europe, I mean, African countries have also been responding to the war. Some have outrightly supported Iran, others are sitting on the fence. But just in terms of those that are supporting Iran, what do you think this means for them when it comes to U.S.-Africa relations?
Well, as for Africa, I think we don't have to support anyone. And I think we will be in a good position if we will support a discussion to call for peace instead of supporting Iran or supporting Europe. I think as Africans, because I think we are going to face the very first effects of this conflict. And we don't have, supporting any of the country does not make any good to us economically. So the issue is we should call for peace, not saying we support a specific part in this conflict.
So let me bring in Dr. Franklin.
I don't support anybody. I just call for peace.
All right. So Dr. Franklin, I want to bring that question about Europe back to you. Let's talk about what this means for Europe. Spain has refused to allow U.S. use its base. So has Keir Starmer of the UK. He allowed for some bases and refused for some, and President Trump isn't finding that funny. Just what do you think this means for that relationship between the U.S. and Europe?
Well, the point is, Europe has always tagged along whenever America goes to its war of choice anyway. But there has equally been some resistance. We can remember in 2003 when the Americans marched into Iraq. Chancellor Schroeder of Germany and Jacques Chirac of France said, no, we are not going with you. So America, convoked what they call the coalition of the willing. So today is still the same. We are saying today, Spain has been an arch opponent of what the United States, much of Europe, and the Israelis did in Gaza, the genocide they committed there. So the Spaniards stood still and said, hell no, we have to respect international law. And this is the same they are applying to what is happening now in Iran. So there is this opposition to this conflict because it's a conflict that has no justification in international law. What the Americans and the Israelis did is a crime, a war crime, okay, attacking a sovereign nation that did nothing to you. So without any United Nations resolution. So it's a violation. They have torn international law to shreds, and the international conventions guarding relationship between nations has now gone to the dogs. So there is this opposition in Europe, but much of Europe, France, Germany, and the UK, even tacitly support what the Americans are doing against Iran, because you have to know most of these countries are now in the hands of what is called the Israeli lobby. They have bought the top echelon of European and American politics, and we could see people say that Trump went to this war in order to distract from the Epstein files, and so we can see what is happening. Actually, there is opposition, but the opposition is too feeble to stop the rampaging advance of the Americans and the Israelis against Iran at the moment.
All right, I'll put both of you on hold, and when we return, the conversation will continue. Stay with us, everyone. TVC. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, as we continue our conversation on U.S.-Israel-Iran war. We've been speaking with he is a writer, African Liberty, Francis Uyozo. He joins us from Tanzania, as well as Dr. Franklin Ogbunweze, who is an independent human rights consultant and former director for Genocide Prevention in Africa, CSIN Switzerland. Thank you both for staying with us. So, Dr. Franklin, I'll stay with you as we continue the conversation. I'll come to Francis in just a moment. Because of what we're talking about, you had mentioned earlier about the next target. You mentioned Turkey. But because I asked you about Europe, and I wanted to also ask you whether this will embolden President Trump more to now go after Greenland.
Well, thank you. Well, that's a very important question. I wouldn't say because Trump has already made a move for Greenland, and from the indications, it seems that there are some powerful interests in the United States that really want to acquire Greenland for the Americans. Uh, Trump went to Venezuela and he wasn't stopped. There was no international party that called him to order. So after the success of Venezuelan operation kidnapping a sitting president, he believed that going into Iraq and decapitating the second most important leader in the Shia religion will just be a cakewalk. But today we are seeing that the Iranians are giving a fight, putting up a fight. They are not just going down silently. The Iranians, their tactics is simple. If we are going to go down, we are going to take you with us. And that's we can see that. So they are spreading their bombs across the whole of the region. So Trump has his ways, and I believe, the Americans have not thought through. It's I don't blame Trump. That has been American foreign policy. They don't think about what they do before marching into a foreign country. It happened in Iraq. George Bush was saying that when they march into Iraq, that people will be greeting them with flowers. And what happened? A year into that invasion, there arose a stiff resistance. And then that was how ISIS was born and created. And the American soldiers started going home in body bags. Okay, so and Iraq became a disaster. They say the same going into Afghanistan to dislodge the Taliban. And what happened? Many years later, they spent $2 trillion to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. So America has never thought through its military or foreign policy in relation to countries that it doesn't know. It's just like ancient Rome. They just march in, devastate the place, and let it live it just that way. It was the same in Vietnam. The Vietnamese put up a fight. And in 75, America was chased out of Saigon. So the United States, as a superpower, has always taken the cultural and considerations for granted. And then it marches into a war that is most times ill-advised. So the Chinese are very busy developing, and America is wasting resources in fighting wars that are not necessary.
And I want to come to Francis. I'm trying to get to a comment made by Israel Katz of the Minister of Defense, in Israel, and I'm trying to get that comment where he said that, look, anyone nominated by any leader appointed by Iranian regime to replace the Ayatollah will be unequivocally targeted for will be an unequivocal target for elimination. What do you make of that comment? It will look like Israel is the biggest winner when it comes to this war, do you think?
Well, of course, that statement means it may be an ending kind of conflict because they have their own laws and regulations, their constitution. They will definitely elect somebody else to replace Ayatollah, or they will just elect anybody. So if somebody says anybody who's going to take the place will also be eliminated, that means this is going to be an ending kind of thing. And I think if it will be so, that means it will be like all other countries which have been in conflict for years and years. And I really wish to speak for Africa. I think this is now the time. If that's the comment, as Africa, we should think on how can we shape our foreign policies, at least to go with these conflicts that affect the conflicts that affect the economy of Africa, because we depend much on whatever that is happening on those other countries. So that means it's going to be an ending kind of thing, or else they want to actually overthrow the regime and change everything in Iran or something. I don't want to speak much about that, if that is good or wrong, because we have seen a lot of comments on social media. Some people are supporting that, some people are against that. I am not in Iran, so I cannot say if somebody's right or somebody's wrong. What I say is, as for us, we should now rethink of our foreign policies, as at least to fit in this unending kind of conflict, which it seems to be.
And Dr. Franklin, I have a minute left and I want to give it to you. Before the 1979 revolution, Iran was a modernizing monarchy. What are the chances that it could become pro-Western again with this comment being made by Israel?
Well, I wish to disagree. Iran has always been, Iran is a 5,000-year-old civilization. That's Persia. Iran has been around. Iran has seen empires come and go. And I believe Iran is going to survive this as well. The point was, in 1953, the United States deposed Mossadegh, a democratically elected prime minister of Iran, in concert with the British. Because of Iranian oil, the Iranians wanted to use their oil resources to develop themselves, and they installed the Shah. And the Shah was chased out by the Iranian Revolution in 1979. So it was what the West did in Iran that necessitated that revolution. People forget that very easily. So that's what it has been. Iran, the way it is now, the Iranians have coalesced around their leaders. The Israelis and the Americans are murdering them, but they are becoming more patriotic. I don't see any way that they are going to attain a regime change in Iran at this time.
Well, we're following developments there. Thank you both for your time. Writer African Liberty, who joined us from Tanzania, Francis Uyozo, and also from Germany, independent human rights consultant, Dr. Franklin Omuweze. Thank you both.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.